Greetings in the name of Nawe, the talking cloud up above my head. You're tuned into Ichabod, and I'm your host, Be Good. What's going on? Today is going to be a call-in show, so get your station ready because we're about to dive into it. Let me go and make sure we're live on all the channels before we're live on Insta and how about Facebook? Okay. And let me share the link on Facebook. What's happening, folks? Come on into the chat. And you know what to do. I ain't even got to say it, do I? But I will. Come on in and greet somebody in Reason's name as we get ready to chop it up. I am your host, Be Good. And I'm looking forward to today's conversation. And yes, I am here for conversation. I'm here for honest, open dialogue. Pardon me while I post this link on Facebook real quick. What's up in the chat? What's up? David DeBow says, Happy Pride Month, everyone. And then blasts with the rainbows. And you know, believers, Christians, are highly upset at the idea of the rainbow signifying what you're signifying. Ambassador LPW says, LOL, I'm gay, but I usually don't identify with the community. Nonetheless, I'll indulge the flags today. Truth Bullet says, greetings, fam. Yeah, I love it. It's very interesting to me. I would say maybe if I had to take a rough estimate, take a stab at it, I would say maybe around 3-4% of the people that I've run into post Christianity, they're not Christians anymore, have either identified as bi or gay or lesbian. And all of them have said, that was part of their deconstruction. So I'm sure that's going to come up in today's conversation. But even people who are not, gay or straight or gay or bi or people who were straight, they still had issues with their sexuality, not necessarily their orientation, just, being a sexual being and being a sexual being and a Christian and feeling like you were in some sort of a box that upon your deconversion, you find yourself like, oh, wait, I'm actually free. And people use their freedom all kinds of ways. I have my own time of experimenting and experiencing and realize like, I'm free. I could do whatever. My desires didn't lead me down a homosexual path, but it did lead me to experiment sexually, just desires that I always had and things I always wanted to do. When I realized I was free, it wasn't like I deconverted to do any of that, but it was like, oh, now that I don't have that barrier there, I am free. And I got a chance to find out and figure out what I like and all that kind of stuff. All of these thoughts are going to come up in today's conversation. And the title of the episode, I chose this title for a specific reason. First, one of our Patreon supporters and admins, My Unique Monique, she's the one that actually, I told you guys that you can slide me topics for these call-in shows. And I just saw hers a couple hours ago. And when I saw hers, she had put it in my DM a few days ago. And when I saw it today, I was like, oh, shoot, that's a great title for today. And so I had one thing planned, and I actually switched my whole game plan so that I could do this for today. So I'm saying that to say I'm not as prepared for this topic as I would have liked to be, But sometimes I like just sort of like just diving in and seeing what kind of sense I can make of things on the fly, especially with you all's comments. They actually help as well. But before I do or say too much more, let me give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. If you are signed up, thank you so much for rocking with the squad. We had more people even sign up yesterday whose names are not on the screen yet. I'm getting to the point where I may have to end up doing two slides for the Patreon supporters, which is a lovely thing. More people just signing up saying, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you all back. But if your name is on the screen, your name is in my heart. And we will be adding more names so that the next time you see this, it will be even more robust. But okay, that being said, let me see who else we got in the chat so far. I am Bayonet. Is that who I think it is? Sometimes I see you all's names and I'm like, that could be so-and-so. But if you are who I think you are, just let me know in the chat. Yeah, it's me. Because I only know one person with that. Okay, there we go with the yes, sir. My guy. What's good? What's good? All right. So when my unique Monique sent me this topic, something along the lines of, does God hate gay people? And then I threw that up on Facebook just to see what kind of reaction I get. A lot of times early in the day, I'll throw something up on Facebook just to see how people respond. They may pull me one direction or make me think a different way. And so when I put this up on my Facebook, I asked the question, why does Bible God hate gay people? And I got like 7 different responses from different Christians that had different ideas about it. And it was so funny because 2 people said, God does not hate gay people. This is a straw man. And then a couple comments down, it was a Christian saying, well, God hates everybody at some point. So why cherry pick with just gay people? So it's like, wait, which is it? Is it God doesn't hate gay people? Or is it, no, he does, but he hates everybody. So that's no big deal. Like, the interesting thing about this is Christians will be all over the place on how you respond to this. So I'm going to actually cut you off because I understand the Christian arguments that would say, no, God doesn't hate gay people. And they would maybe flip it and say, he hates the sin, not the sinner. Then you've got other people, the progressives. My guy, Fred B, he just flooded my Facebook page on a different post. I had a different post a few days ago talking about homosexuality and Christianity. And then me and Fred B was saying, oh, the Bible doesn't even say anything about homosexuality. And I knew what he was saying, but I'm like, I think it actually does. And he Googled it with the AI, gave me all these AI responses talking about homosexuality is a modern category. The Bible doesn't say anything about the orientation. It says more about the homosexual act and not the act in general, the homosexual act in specific instances. And then there was a list of ways where this is what they meant. But even the AI was saying, this is the progressives, the progressive Christians trying to find a way to wedge the door open so that homosexuality can actually be seen as acceptable in the eyes of Bible God. And I told Fred, I don't think that's the case. I think the Bible really does outlaw homosexuality. I think when it uses the word abomination, it's not talking about the things that the progressives want to say. I know people like Jennifer Bird and those folks, maybe even Dan McClellan. I think those folks would like to say the Bible doesn't have anything to say about homosexuality. I'm going to argue with that position today. All right. So, but then I changed it because, like, what if I gave the benefit of the doubt to the people that say, no, the Bible's not outlawing homosexuality. It's just these specific kinds of homosexual acts. Like maybe if the person is like a temple prostitute, or if there's some sort of imbalance where the one male has a younger male, all these ways that maybe the Bible's only outlawing that, not homosexuality. So I'm going to take it several different ways. My My man Fred, I just was talking about your comments. There he is. I was just talking about your comments on Facebook, the AI search that you posted. Um, so I'm gonna allow for people who call in to say, no, it is a sin, but God hates the sin, not the sinner. But I also want to talk to the person that says, no, homosexuality isn't a sin. It's just these, whenever you see it in these certain instances, that's what God has, these exploitative instances, that's what God has a problem with. I want to talk about all of that today. And if you're a Christian, I'd love for you to call in because I want to have this conversation. I changed it from God hates homosexuals, which is something that a Christian could argue, no, he doesn't, because da 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 da. But I think it's a more interesting conversation to talk about this. Okay, even if I gave you that God doesn't hate homosexuals, the real question to me is, does God hate homosexuality? And then even you as a Christian, you might say, oh no, I don't hate homosexuals. I got friends who are homosexuals. I love them. I want the best for them. I'm da 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 da. Okay. Even for you, the question changes. It's not just, do you hate homosexuals? Maybe you don't. I think you do. And I'm going to explain to you why. But the real question I'm going to ask in today is, do you hate homosexuality? And I would love to hear the Christian that says, oh no, God hates the sin, not the sinner. And I hate the sin, not the sinner. I'd love to hear you respond to this nuanced question. Do you hate homosexuality? Do you think God hates homosexuality? The orientation, not just the individual act that might be exploitative if you put it in this context. No, homosexuality in general. Do you think God hates that? Do you hate that? That's what I want to talk about today. Now, you can say, I don't want to address that. I just want to talk about the fact that I love homosexuals. I don't even want to talk about homosexuality. I just want to talk about I love homosexuals. Even if that's where you are, I still would like you to call in because I'm going to try to persuade or convince you that you cannot have a problem with homosexuality and claim to love homosexuals. That's my argument today. What do y'all think about that? You cannot have a problem with homosexuality and claim to love homosexual individuals. And you cannot claim that God doesn't have a problem with homosexuality, or no, you cannot claim that God has a problem with homosexuality, but loves homosexuals. Those two are incongruent. And I'm going to try to explain that today. All right. Now, maybe you want to convince me otherwise. If you'd like to, the link to call in is in the chat. It's the top comment pinned in the chat. And you might see some of the admins like Mythos Boy or My Unique Monique. She may be out celebrating with her young one who graduated today. But you might see the admins posting it in the chat. Somebody with a wrench, they'll post the address so you can click it and log in. If you're on Facebook, I didn't pin it to Facebook. No, I did. If you're on Facebook, it's the top comment. If you're on Instagram, it's the link in my bio to call in. So we want to talk about some Bible verses. We want to talk about some Greek words. We want to talk about some typical Christian responses. And then maybe we'll talk about some personal reflections. All right, that's what we're going to do today. So definitely call in. If you're a Christian, I want to know not just how you feel about homosexuals. I may be willing to give you the benefit of the doubt on that. I want to know for sure how you feel about homosexuality, and what do you think God thinks and feels about homosexuality. All right. So let me look at the chat and see what's going on. Mythos Boy says, hi there, present. Who else we got? Did I say what's up to Truth Bullet? If I didn't, what's up, my guy? Good to see. Or guy, I don't, Truth Bullet, I'm assuming Mel, but maybe let me know. I was about to say my guy, but I want to be sure on how I dress. That's an interesting idea. I'd be interested in learning more about the false and misunderstood Sodom and Gomorrah site evidence argued by people like Ron Wyatt. You're talking about the pillars of salt when they tried to say that was evidence of the biblical story. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that's one of my main points. So let's. I was going to try to wait for the theists to call in, but they may take a while. They typically do. So maybe I'll just dive into some conversation, and then a theist will call, and that will, I may backtrack on that. Paper Cherry, it's good to see you in the chat. Uh, all right, let me see. Without faith, hey, says God said is an abomination. So that's the thing. So one of the things that Fred B was sending me, saying, in the Leviticus passages. Let's just read the Leviticus passages real quick. Let's go to Leviticus 18, right? Leviticus 18. And let's start around verse 24. These are the laws given to Israel, how to remain in the land, how to be blessed in the land. If you violate these principles, these laws, these statutes, these rules, you're not going to remain in the land, but you will end up besieged and captive, and all kind of horrifying things will happen to you if you disregard these stipulations that God is giving them. All right. So what are some of those stipulations? Leviticus 18:24. Do not defile yourselves with anything. I'm sorry, with any of these things. For the nations that I'm about to drive out before you have been defiled with these things. So God is basically saying to them, look, I'm only giving you this land. Well, I'm only giving you this land. The land that I'm giving you, I'm kicking people out because they did these things. Don't you go into the land and do these things. All right. So that's the premise for this. Therefore, the land has become unclean, and I have brought the punishment for its iniquity upon it, so that the land has vomited out its inhabitants. Now, first of all, that's cap, right? The land has vomited out its inhabitants. If the land had vomited out its inhabitants, then Israel would not have needed to go in and dispossess them. So there's all kinds of justification being given here for why the ancient Israelites are being told, hey, that land that belongs to them can now belong to you. They're justifying it by painting these people as wicked and evil and all this, that, and the third. And now the rules are going to come to Israel. No, but don't you go in there and do the same stuff. Stuff like what? Verse 26. You yourselves must obey my statutes and my regulations, and must not do any of these abominations, both the native citizen and the resident foreigner in your midst. Hold on. I think I'm sorry. I'm past where I wanted to start. Yeah, that's verse 24 where I started. I want to start earlier. Dad, where do I want to start? Let me see. All right, so I'm going to start at verse 18, because one of the things that people like to say is, like, God was setting up a social order. And Fred B, this is one of the things that was in the AI breakdown that you sent me. God was setting up a social order where it was patriarchal, men were the head, women were subservient, and to keep that patriarchal order in the sexual act in their community, sex is always seen as this two-sided thing. One person is doing the penetrating, that's the dominant person. One person is being penetrated, that's the subservient person. And because God wanted this patriarchal society, he was going to use the penetrator versus the penetrated to keep the society in check. And so when God gives them this law, what God is basically doing is saying to the men, don't you become subservient. That's really what, It's not even about homosexual sex. It's about men not becoming subservient. So that's sort of what the breakdown is saying. That's how the progressives try to spin this passage. But here goes the passage. I'm starting in verse 18. There's context that you can go back and read what's happening before this. Verse 18. You must not take a woman in marriage and then marry her sister as a rival wife while she is still alive to have sexual relations with her. The reason why I'm starting with this one is, have you ever asked yourself, why is this written as if it's only addressing men? Why does this not say you must not take a man as your husband and then take his brother as a rival husband? None of these laws are written to women. They're written to men. Men are the head. Men own their property. Men own their children, and men own their wives. And one of the things that, the progressives say is, they say the reason why this is not about homosexual sex is because if it was, they would have addressed lesbian sex as well. Not just men don't lie with men like you lie with women, but it doesn't say women don't lie with women like you lie with men. So the fact that it doesn't address lesbian sexual encounters is proof that this is not outlawing homosexual sex. This is only outlawing some kind of one male dominant making another male subservient. That's all it's outlawing. That's what they say, right? Because if it was about homosexual sex, they would have outlawed lesbian sex too, and it doesn't, so that it can't be about homosexual sex. I say I don't think that that's the case at all. The reason why it doesn't address lesbian sex is not because, it wasn't really talking about homosexual sex. No, it doesn't address lesbian sex because these laws were not written to women. Women did not have rights in the first place. It's written to men. That's the reason why it addresses what men should and should not do. Women don't have a say in the matter. They are property. They can be sold into concubinage. They can be sold to be somebody's wife. They can be sold to be a servant. Women don't have rights. The law is not written to them. So for the progressives who would say, see, it wasn't really about, no, it has nothing to do with not addressing lesbian sex. They're not even thinking about that because the woman doesn't have a right to be outside of her father's house doing anything. Her only rights is to wait until she's married off and become her husband's property, not her father's property. They're not even thinking about her sexual orientation or her choices or none of that. Okay, I'm saying way more than I wanted to say very early on in the program. So let me go back a little bit. So you, man, must not take a woman in marriage and then marry her sister as a rival wife while she is still alive to have sexual relations with her. Then verse 19, you must not approach a woman in her menstrual impurity to have sexual relations with her. Verse 20, you must not have sexual relations with the wife of your fellow citizen to become unclean with her. 21, you must not give any of your children as an offering to Molech. Then 22, you must not have sexual relations with a male as one has sexual relations with a woman. It is a detestable act. It is a detestable act. What is that talking about? Now, you might say, see, it's the act, not the orientation. I'm going to save that for later, all right? Let's just deal with the detestable. What is the detestable act? For the person that wants to say, no, this is just about a dominant male making another male not be dominant. God wanted all men to be dominant. God wanted a patriarchal society. That's all it's about. Are you saying that the detestable act is the male becoming subservient? Because I think that's you're putting a lot of strain and stress on this passage to make it be talking about the act of a man becoming submissive and not the act of two men having sexual relations. That's what this passage is about. It has I don't see any way you can stick in there. Sorry for the imagery there. I don't see any way that you could make this about a male becoming subservient when that wasn't God's intention. And penetrative sex just happens to be an example of that, but it could be any, because think about it. Think of any other way. Like if a male arm wrestles another male and he beats him and says, say uncle, I ain't gonna let you up till I say uncle. That's making a man subservient. Is that an abomination too? Is that detestable? God could have chosen any act where a man made another man look subservient. Why choose the act of sex? It seems to me that a plain reading of the text, even knowing the ancient culture, is that the detestable act in Leviticus 18:22 is not making a male subservient. The detestable act is a man, as the verse says, having sexual relations or lying with a male as one lies with a woman. This is written to men about how they are to not have sex with other men because it is a detestable act. You have the same thing happening a couple of chapters later in Leviticus chapter 20. Let me check the chat real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, okay. Fred says jumping into a meeting, but we'll circle back. All right, yeah. A lot more to be said here. I'm going to run through a few more of these passages. If you are a Christian, a Bible-believing, Jesus-worshiping Christian, and you think that no, God, the Christian, either one or two things, doesn't hate homosexuals or doesn't hate homosexuality. If you're on either one of those, I don't hate homosexuals or I don't hate homosexuality, or God doesn't hate homosexuals or God doesn't hate homosexuality. If you're on either one of those, please call in. The link is in the chat. Scroll all the way up. It's the top comment, and we'll be pasting it throughout the episode. If you're on Facebook, it's the pinned comment. If you're on Instagram, it's in my bio. If you're a Christian on either one of those, please call in and let's talk about it. I was going to just have the title be "Do Christians or Does God Hate Homosexuals?" I thought that was just too easy because you could just say, "No, I don't." But once again, for those who tuned in late, my argument is, if you got a problem with homosexuality, you've got a problem with homosexuals. You cannot claim to love homosexuals and then hate homosexuality. Those two are incongruous. If you disagree with me, call in. Let's talk about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm not going to scream at you, curse you out, try to embarrass you, but I just would like to reason and see where we end up. Maybe you can sway me. Maybe you could stop my mouth and make me, repent. Or maybe you could just, salvage the reputation of the God of the Bible, who seems like a moral monster in many people's books, in my book. But maybe you can change how we're seeing the God of the Bible. All right. Let me keep going. Go to Leviticus 20. And let's start around. Let's start at verse 9. All right. This is Leviticus 20, verse 9. If anyone curses his father or mother, he must be put to death. He has cursed his father or mother. His blood guilt is on himself. Verse 10. If a man commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. If a man goes to bed with his father's wife, once again, the act is going to bed with. All right. His father's wife, he has exposed his father's nakedness. Now think about this. This wording here is very interesting because you might have heard people talk about the Noah story, right? What was Noah's son's sin when it says he exposed his father's nakedness? This is not like he saw his dad naked and was like, "Ooh, look at his little ding-a-ling." No, The phrase exposed his father's nakedness is a euphemism for sleeping with his father's wife. So in the story before the after the flood, when Noah's son exposes his nakedness, like this is what the story is most likely talking about. Because look what the verse says. If a man goes to bed with his father's wife, he has exposed his father's nakedness. Both of them must be put to death. Their blood guilt is on themselves. All right. Um, okay. Verse 13. I'm sorry, no. If a man goes to bed with his daughter-in-law, both of them must be put to death. They have committed perversion. Their blood guilt is on themselves. Now, I will grant this. As I'm reading this, I will grant this. A lot of these do seem to have the idea of you're taking something that's somebody else's, your father's wife, your son's wife, these kind of things. And so there is a sense in which you've taken something from somebody else. So could you keep that same principle intact for verse 13? If a man goes to bed with a male as one goes to bed with a woman, the two of them have committed an abomination. They must be put to death. Their blood guilt is on themselves. So could you say, if those other instances were taking something that belonged to somebody else, their wife, taking your father's wife or your son's wife, could this be a case of taking something where one male sleeps with another male? Did he take something from him like in those other cases? And then the only thing you can come up with is, did he take his, quote unquote, his manhood? Did he take his dignity? That's sort of what the progressives are trying to say when they say this isn't really about homosexuality. This is about making a male seem like he's not a male. That's sort of what they're trying to say there. And to me, that's a stretch. That to me, like that's the closest you can come to this idea, but it's kind of a stretch. It's sort of boldly saying it's the perversion or the abomination is the doing with men what you do with women. That's something that the God of the Bible is not trying to see happen. All right. More Bible verses I want to get into, but I'm going to hold off for now because I want to know what some of you all's thoughts are. But if I don't get anybody calling, I want to dive into why I'm saying you cannot have a problem with homosexuality, but then at the same time say, no, but I love homosexuals. You can't do it. You can't do it. So what I'd like you to discuss in the chat before I say any more of what I wanted to say, tell me whether you agree or disagree. And let me know whether you're a theist or atheist or somewhere in between so that I know how to take your answer, unless you're somebody that I already know where you are. But the question is, do you think you could have a problem with, issue with homosexuality, but still claim to love homosexuals? Yes or no? I really want to know what you guys think about this. All right. And if you're on Facebook, you can put your comment in the chat too. I will try to make a concerted effort to go to Facebook to read the comments if there are any in there today. If you're on Facebook and you want to come join us on YouTube, the link to do that is in my bio. Just scroll up on Facebook and look at my bio, and you can come join us on YouTube. All right, I'll give you guys a minute to get your comments together. The question on the floor is, whether you're a theist or whether you're atheist or somewhere in between, do you think it's possible to have a problem with homosexuality? I'm not with that. I'm not feeling that. I don't like that. God don't like ugly, whatever you want to do. Do you think it's possible to have a problem with homosexuality and yet claim to love homosexuals? That's the question you're answering. All right. My unique Monique, what's happening? Good to see you. I thought you would be out celebrating with your young one today, but thanks for tuning in. Congrats on the graduation. All right, looking in the chat. um, this has nothing to do with the topic, but I see without faith said to someone, I don't even know what the context is, wrong place to ask for prayers. Try Benny Hinn. Hey, can I be honest with y'all? This is going to fuck some of y'all up. So somebody in yesterday's live, after the live, somebody in the comments, I don't even know if I really fully understood what they were saying, but they said, please pray for something like daughter or somebody daughter in the hospital, something like that. And I'm like, well, if you're watching this program and but somebody's in the hospital and they're asking for prayer, can I just be honest with y'all and tell y'all, I prayed. Because I was about to clown a person and say the same thing that Without Faith just said. I was about to say, why are you asking me or any of us to pray? I was about to clown a person, and I said, I didn't say this to the person. Matter of fact, I don't think I said anything. I think I just put the prayer hands. But I'm like, I don't think it's going to help this person, but it can't hurt the person. And then, like, just for fuck's sake, I'm like, what if? Like, just who knows? Like, I prayed. I just like, God, if you're there, if you're able to help this person, help them. Like, who knows? I don't hate me. If you're an atheist, don't hate me for praying. I just was like, what the hell? Like, I mean, like, or what the heaven? So, but I don't know who Without Faith is talking to here, but I mean, the only harm in an atheist praying is my ego. Like, why am I feel stupid doing it, but I mean, so what? So if y'all want to clown me for that, you can, but it just felt like the right thing to do. The person was in need and they thought it would help. Oh, matter of fact, I think I said to the person, if you think it will help, I will. Matter of fact, that's what I said. And then I put the prayer hands after that. If you think it'll help, I will. Hey man, look, that's just me being trying to be a good humanist, y'all. All right, let me see. All right, so Fred B says, I think this is probably to the point that I made, not to the question I was asking, but I'll read it anyway. Honestly, that's a fair point. Lesbianism isn't addressed because everything was essentially written to men. Women were ranked so low as to not even warrant addressing. I may have to concede that. Okay, I appreciate that, but I'm still open to ideas. We're here for dialogue. We're here to help each other think through things, and go out and think better, be better, do better. Scott Local said, "Well, they love their apostle Paul, and he was a homosexual." So I don't think we know what Paul's orientation was, but I've heard people look at certain passages and have you guys ever made any sense of or any peace with or traction on the idea that Jesus, because Jesus never mentions homosexuality. He does mention people having been made eunuchs for the kingdom, and says, when Jesus talks about divorce not being an option aside from adultery, his disciples said, if that's the case, it's better not to marry. Jesus didn't say, no, don't say that. Jesus was like, damn right. It's better not to marry. But then Jesus said, but not everybody can hear that. Not everybody can accept that. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. Let me see. I still haven't even got to you all's comments. So let me see. Without Faith says, we were so two-faced when it came to welcoming homosexuals in church, praying behind their backs that Bible God didn't turn them over to a reprobate mind. Damn, think about that. Think about that. I think it's probably very similar to the way many Christians deal with us as atheists, right? On one hand, they love us and they're praying that God would change our hearts and woo us and draw us to himself and da-da-da-da-da. But on the other hand, they're kind of secretly on some, that's all right. God gonna get them. God gonna get you. God gonna get them right. If you don't bow now, you're gonna bow later. It's like you have these two minds about the person. And I think, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think as a Christian I ever had two minds about I don't know. I kind of think my jury was always out on homosexuals because it really just didn't sit well with me to demonize a person because of their sexual orientation, something that I thought they had no say in the matter. I didn't think it was a choice. And I was close to thinking, well, we're all born in sin. I'm trying to save my comments about being born in sin on this issue until I get a believer on the line. But I think somewhere in my mind, I did think, well, we're all born in sin. Maybe homosexuality is just the way the sin manifests for some people. And I think that's the way I rationalized it in my mind. And so because of that, I never hated homosexuals, but I don't think I thought long and hard enough about it to have a problem with homosexuality and then claim that I don't have a problem with homosexuals. I don't think I thought about it. All right, let me see. Amani says, what's up, Amani says, I agree with you. If you have an issue, and I like how the issue, right? We're saying issue, because what we're saying is, it's not just I have an issue with it. Your issue is, let me say my comments, because I don't want somebody to hear what I'm saying and think, oh, I can't call in because he's going to paint me in that with that brush. So, okay, I like issue. I agree with you. If you have an issue with homosexuality, you have an issue with gay people, there is no in between. If you're a theist, Christian, and you disagree with that, please call in. Garland Garrett says, don't know where you got that. Never heard that, man. Oh, okay. This is a Paul being homosexual. Never heard that, man. Paul was a homosexual. Not that it mattered. I think the reason why a lot of people talk about Paul being a homosexual is because how anti some of the writings attributed to Paul are, how anti-women they are. These ideas about it being better not to marry. I wish all men were as I myself was. Those are writings that we really do think are Paul's, right? I think that's in 1 Corinthians, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that Romans? I forget. But then you go to Timothy, and you have these passages about women having to be silent. You know, man was made first, not woman. Woman was deceived and fell in. She's the one that sinned by being deceived. So they look at those kind of passages, and that's why they say Paul really had an issue with women. Maybe he was homosexual and closeted, and that, that's the way it was coming out. If there are any other reasons why people say that Paul might have been a homosexual that I haven't listed, let me know. Amias, what's going on? Amias says, I think as a Christian, I just would have compared to other sins like premarital sex, drunkenness. So I would have said, yes, it's possible. It's possible to have a problem. So, and that's what the Christians who may call today, they may say, I can have a problem with a murderer's murdering without hating the murderer. And in the same way, I can have a problem with a homosexual's homosexuality, but still love the homosexual. And that never sat well with me as a Christian, because once again, I just instinctively, y'all, I instinctively felt terrible. I felt horrible about making someone's sexual orientation the same as whatever illicit desires I might have. If I'm so angry I could kill this person, or I'm so whatever, I could whatever. And I know that the desire is illicit. I know that it's probably something that is wrong. And I'm going to make this person's natural instinctual sexual desire, I'm going to make that as, I'm going to criminalize that the same way I would criminalize my desire to steal a Ferrari or whatever it might be. Always had a problem with that, even as a Christian. Mythos Boy says, yes, it's possible to dislike behaviors and still love the person. Not saying this is what is happening in this case. Yeah, so it's kind of tricky to say I dislike behaviors, but I don't know, Mythos Boy. Think about it. It's one thing to say I dislike the behaviors, right? Everybody has their idiosyncrasies, and then other people have pet peeves. And if you start dating somebody, it really sucks if their idiosyncrasies are your pet peeves. It's like you crack your knuckles. I hate people that crack their knuckles. You don't hate people that crack the knuckles. You dislike the behavior so much that you say things like, I hate that. But that's a behavior. That's not who the person is. Like hating cracking knuckles, I don't think you can put that in the same category as somebody's sexual orientation, because I crack my knuckles. And when I don't, if I go a long time without doing it, it feels like I have to do it, but I cannot do it. I think somebody's sexual orientation, I don't think that's the same thing as cracking knuckles. I don't think it's the same thing as, people that do that thing to clear their throat. You're like, well, why you do? Like, you don't have to do that, though you've grown accustomed to doing it. You don't have to do it. But your sexuality, that's like breathing. Like if you tried to tell me I could not practice my sexual orientation, you might as well tell me not to breathe. I was hanging out with Thurgood in Houston last month, and he asked me, what was the question he asked me? He asked me something to the effect of, like, would you like assent to euthanasia if, like, let's say you got older and you ended up in this condition, like let's say you couldn't taste food anymore, you couldn't, some question like that. And I was like, if food lost its taste, would I still want to live? I was like, probably, because there's other, and I just being real, I just like, but I'll tell you this much. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I probably shouldn't. I'll say it this way. For me, I said, there are certain things that I know if I can't do these things anymore, take me out. I'm good to go. And we laughed, but then we both said, but if you ended up in that situation, you probably would find some other way or some other reason to give yourself like a reason to get out of bed in the morning or whatever. But I'm only saying all that to say there are some things that are just a part of who you are. And I think your sexual orientation, who you're attracted to sexually, I don't know if it's fair to say that's just a behavior of somebody, and I cannot like your behavior, but still like you or still love you. This is going to get into some real touchy subjects in a second, because I remember as a Christian thinking a different way than what I'm about to say. So we know in this country specifically, the rights of gay individuals have always piggybacked on the advancement of African Americans. So this is the way it's always going in this country. African Americans will fight for a right, get the right, and then women will fight for that right, get the right, and then LGBTQ folk will fight for the right, and in most cases, get the right. And so a lot of times, people would make these comparisons and say, what if somebody told you it was illegal to be African American, to be Black? And the Black person would say, don't go comparing your homosexuality to my Blackness. I had no choice in this. you're not, it's not the same. And I remember as a Christian thinking, is that a good argument? Or should I be up in arms too, saying, yeah, it's not the same. Don't try to put your homosexuality in the same category as my blackness. But when I deconverted, that question went out the window. I actually do see the two on the same par. Like, this is who the person is. If you outlaw this, you're outlawing the person. If you say I have a problem with this act, this practice, this orientation, but I love the person, I don't think you can make that. I don't think you can. The only way you can make that statement is if you don't understand how integral to the person their sexual identity and orientation actually is. And if you don't understand that, then maybe you could say, I don't like the behavior, but I still rock with the person. But once you grasp it, like if you put yourself in their shoes, if somebody tried to outlaw your sexual orientation or have a problem with your sexual orientation, the way that they have a problem with homosexuality, you would feel, I think, I would feel offended. This is how I am. This is how I came into the world. I didn't choose this. This is me. You accept this or you don't accept me. And for the homosexual person who would say, no, if you don't accept this, you don't accept me, I don't think I could argue with that. I don't think I could. This gets even more interesting when you add into this the T in the LGBT, because the trans issue really brings the argument to God's doorstep. This is why when people deconvert, I know you guys have made more comments. I'm going to scroll down in a second and see what y'all said. I haven't even scrolled down yet. The reason why two things that are huge issues for the Christian: evolution, because if evolution is true, much of the Bible storyline goes out the window. But the same thing is true of homosexuality and trans issues. If people truly are trans, if their physiology has not caught up to their biochemistry, but they really are trans, they really are, they really feel instinctively like it didn't happen, but I'm not in the right body. I know instinctively, internally who I am, and it doesn't match. If that's a real phenomenon, that destroys much of the Bible's idea of God knitting us together in our mother's wombs. Even if we're born in sin, he's still the one that, as the scripture says, stitching us together in our womb. Now you might say, oh, that's just poetry. No, but there's supposedly some theology in that. However we are, we're fearfully and wonderfully made and all these things. But if I come out and I'm homosexual or I'm trans and God is responsible, this blows a hole in the entire production of the Christian message. And so Christians, to me, have to fight tooth and nail against evolution, even though the progressives try to save it and say, no, I can accept evolution too. And Christians have to fight tooth and nail against homosexuality and trans identity, even though the progressives try to save it. The progressives are trying to save it, but really what they're trying to save is God. You're trying to save a God that cannot work if these things are true. And this is my appeal, Fred B. This is my appeal to the person who, so Fred, I'm sorry. I don't want anybody to think Fred is an atheist. Fred is not an atheist. Correct me if I'm wrong. Fred is on his own journey of deconstruction and not exactly sure where it's going to end yet, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fred. But to the atheist, though, to the atheist who wants to give the progressives, throw the progressives a bone and say, oh yeah, the Bible doesn't outlaw this, the Bible doesn't outlaw homosexuality, stop helping them. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to save their God and make their God work in today's world, as opposed to the biblical world, where you could say homosexuality or same-sex action is an abomination. In the biblical world, you could say it's an abomination and nobody will bat an eye. You say it today, and it's like, wait, what are you saying? Your God's a monster. And so the progressives try to save God by stretching these biblical passages to make them not seem as harsh. I think the atheist, the agnostic, the former theist, the former Christian should stop trying to save them and stop trying to let them give cover for Bible God. Show Bible God for being the bigot that he is. Show Bible God for being the ancient moral monster that he is. Stop trying to make it easy for that archaic God to live in 2026. That's where I'm at with it. All right. I was on a couple tangents just now. Let me let me go back and try to see if we got any more answers to the question I asked you an hour ago. Let me see. Oh, and Facebook. Let me see. So Sherry, this is interesting. Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, on Facebook, you are currently a Christian, right? Sherry says, no, I think it's the old, let's try and be in the middle instead of just calling it out. And they certainly cannot procreate. Well, I missed something here. What are you saying? So Sherry says, I believe God hates homosexuality. And then says, if God hates it, he would not create them biologically. So Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this your way of saying God, A, does hate homosexuality? You did say that much. And God did not create people homosexual. That's something that happens, I don't know, either via the fall or socialization or something like that. Sherry, correct me. Is that what you're saying, or do I have you wrong there? I want to know what you're saying there. I really need to get another monitor so I can have Facebook up somewhere else instead of having to grab my phone. All right, I see you guys going back and forth in the chat. I'm scrolling up to see if there's any more answers to the question I asked. So Back Boobs Make Me Smile says, this is why I like to remind people that LGBTQ rights are Black rights also. Gay Black people exist and their rights are important. Now, as much as I think I agree with you in principle in terms of what you're trying to accomplish there, I don't know if I agree with that statement, because you can have, just because there's overlap between somebody being gay and somebody being Black doesn't mean it's the same issues, but I do think it's the same principle that would allow you to say, if you're going to give somebody space because this is who they are, this is how they are naturally, they are a Black person, a white person, an Asian person, whatever. I think you have to do the same thing with somebody who's homosexual. But I don't think just because they're gay and Black that identity is one identity. I think that because of intersectionality, you have these different identifiers. That's what I'm thinking about that just upon my first reading that. Still looking through the comments. All right, y'all are having some conversation, so it's hard for me to see where people are answering the question that I asked. But I am trying to scroll and look for this. Let me see. All right, yeah, I'm glad that you guys are having conversation. I'm not saying stop that at all. I'm just saying it's. I wanted to read some of you all's reactions, but I don't know if I'm seeing them. But this is an interesting comment. May every creature find happiness says, I never had a Christian actually break down what is wrong with it except appeal to natural order? That's a great idea. I was trying to save this for a Christian to call in, but maybe I'll say a little bit about it now. So if you're a theist, particularly a Christian, a Bible believing Christian, the line is open for you to call in. If not, this will just be a show of me talking about the issue. What do you think God's issue with homosexuality or same-sex relationships, sexual relationships actually is? What do you think the issue is? I'm gonna pontificate in a minute and postulate, just thinking what I think the issues are. But what is the real issue? Is it just, oh, it violates the natural order? Or is there some other cosmic, or I remember back when I was earlier in my Christianity, I was listening to people who would say, no, it's health issues. It's unhealthy. This is in the mid 90s. So people would always point to the AIDS epidemic and say, see, look at the health issues and the health risks that come with same-sex sex. Particularly with male same-sex sex, because you wouldn't have those same issues with lesbian same-sex sex. So it's a health issue. But then I'm like, no, because men and women, they do some of the same sexual acts. And whatever health issues there are, people mitigate them and they find ways to, prepare and make it work and, have fun with it. So I don't know that that's is it just a health thing? What is the issue? Michael Apple, sorry to use your full name there. Mythos Boy says AIDS/HIV mostly killed straight people. So stupid on several levels. I do have a caller who just called in. Don't want to make this comment. Maybe I'll save my comment because we'll see. And Robert, your camera is not on. I've had a Robert who's called in several times. Robert, if this is the Robert who's called in before, this might be interesting. This is a very interesting topic, so I would love to see how this is going to go. I will remind watchers, this is a collaborative effort. So if you're not feeling how the call is going, just have your red flags ready, and I will be paying attention to the chat. And we'll see what goes on here. Robert, your camera is not on. If you want to take a second to turn it on, you can. If not, I will bring you in as you are. Come as you are. Uh-oh. I think we scared him away, y'all. He's gone. Robert, you can call. If something happened, you want to call right back, that's fine. That happens sometimes. I've had Robert on several times before, and it was an interesting conversation. I'm perfectly open to talking to Robert again, but the chat wasn't really feeling how those conversations went after a while. Robert, if you do want to call back, I did not mean to scare you away. Would love to talk with you. I really want to know what your thoughts are on this issue. But if anybody else would like to call in the meantime, this is the time to do that. The link is in the chat. Scroll all the way up, or I'll post it again. If you're on Facebook, scroll up. It's the pinned comment at the top. If you're on Instagram, it's the link in my bio. So we can chop it up. Robert, we're not going to make fun of you. We're not going to clown you. If you want to call back, please do. But I was about to say something before Robert called. Where was I going with that? I was going somewhere with that. What was I saying? It seemed important at the time. Oh, there was a comment that I was talking about. Okay, before I belabor the point, Robert is calling back. Let's go. Uh, Now it says devices are not connected. So, Robert, I'm not sure what the issue is. You at least need a mic connected. Maybe you need to scroll down and turn your mic on, because I can't even bring you in until you at least have a camera or a mic that's given permission. Yeah, it says they will need to connect their mic/camera before you can add them to the stream. So look on your profile and either turn your mic and or your camera on. Still says devices not connected. So while you work that out, you can feel free to go out and try again, see if you can get it in. Anybody else, any theists out there, feel free. This is your chance to call in and talk to a former one of you. I was once where you are now. Jesus worshiper, Bible believing, justifying the God of the Bible, vindicating him in all instances. He can do no wrong. I was there. I was there. So if you want to call and chop it up on today's topic, if not, I will read some more Bible passages and we'll say more, because I got a lot more to say about this, but I'm waiting for an interlocutor. And I'm sorry, I'm sure a few more of you all answered my question, but trying to scroll through the chat to see which are answers to my question and which ones are you all just talking to each other is kind of difficult to do that live. This is an interesting comment. Without Faith says, hell, who knows? I probably missed out on some good times turning down all the lesbians that hit on me. Hey, look, it's never too late. And for those who are watching, Without Faith has let us know several times already that at 55 years old, she finally deconverted. So a Jesus believer for almost her entire life. And at 55 years old, she was like, oh, it's not true, and broke out. So Reverend Wolf says, is that Wolf? Am I reading that right? Says the book makes it clear they are against the act, not the individual. Christians should not have hate in their heart, just saying what the book says. Well, the book says a few more things, and I'm waiting to get to those passages, but I want to do it with somebody on the line, because the book doesn't just have an issue with the act. So we'll talk about that as soon as we get somebody in here who could defend the Bible, lest I just sit here and assail it with nobody to defend it. Ambassador LPW says, does this streaming platform not allow you to see both YouTube and Facebook and IG comments? It does not. Matter of fact, I never check in on IG. I need to check in on IG. But there's a bunch of people watching. Oh, it's not a bunch of people. There's a few people watching. But no comments on IG. But no, StreamYard does not allow me to see. And when I watch people like Justin, he has several screens open while he's on, looking at different platforms. But if there is a way, maybe I need to Google it. I don't think there's a way to see it all, to see all the comments at one time. Oh, wait. Um, no, the most it will allow me to do is open another window with Facebook on it, but I can't see the StreamYard window at the same time. Let me see if I can do the same thing with YouTube, because at least then I could toggle back and forth. Nope, I can't do it with Instagram, but I could at least, but that's no big deal. I could always open a Facebook window, but that's a little better. But I need a whole screen up so that I can see it the entire time without having to toggle back and forth. Okay, so we got Robert and we got a visual. So, welcome back to Ichabod. Robert, what's going on?
What's happening? How you doing, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. So just so people know where you're calling from, not geographically, but theologically, where you at with the God question? Let us know. Are you theist, atheist, agnostic? Where you at?
No, I'm a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm a follower and disciple, a lover of the Lord.
One day I'm going to ask that question and you're going to say, atheist today.
No, my foundation is firm.
All right.
My foundation is firm.
So you call back in. The prompt says, do Christians / does God hate homosexuality? What do you think?
He hates all sin. So my response would be yes. I mean,
Okay, God hates homosexuality. Now, would you go as far as to say God hates homosexuals?
no,
How about yourself?
no. I know someone, and I love them dearly.
Love them dearly, but hate their sexual orientation.
I would say yes,
Okay, why do you hate their sexual orientation?
because all sin, individuals that do not repent of their sin, accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, hell is their home. So my heart breaks for individuals who don't love the Lord Jesus Christ, whether they're
There are homosexual individuals who will tell you they love the Lord Jesus Christ, but they can't change their sexuality.
yeah, that's true. That's what they say.
You don't believe them?
No, the scripture is clear, just like you read
Mm-hmm.
in Deuteronomy. It's we all are born sinners with a heart that's bent towards sin, a heart that gravitates towards sin, goes in the
Mm-hmm.
opposite direction of what God says, and we're pleasures of self, right?
Lovers of pleasure, lovers of
Yeah,
self rather than lovers of God.
yeah,
Why
for
do you
sure.
think some people are homosexuals?
It's a choice, just like it's a choice to do any other sin.
So Robert, could you right now choose to enjoy homosexual sex?
I couldn't choose to enjoy it. I could choose to enjoy it, right? God has given me free will,
You
all of
could
us free
choose to
will.
enjoy homosexual sex?
Yes, just like I could choose to enjoy crack cocaine. I could choose to enjoy fornication. I could choose to enjoy getting drunk. I could choose to enjoy
I
any
want to
other
I want
thing.
to see if you're a rare breed because I think you are. If you are straight in the chat, if you're straight, put a 1 in the chat if you could choose to enjoy homosexual sex even though you're straight. Put a 2 if not. I just want to see if Robert is a rare breed or if we're all like that. 1, if you could choose to enjoy homosexual sex even though you're straight. 2, if you cannot.
For the people who say they could not choose to um, enjoy it, that's a lie
Mhm.
because you can choose to. You have a choice. You have a choice. My choice is I choose to obey God.
You
I
could choose to
choose not to get drunk.
participate in a homosexual sex act. I don't know if you could choose to enjoy it.
There, sex is a very powerful tool, right?
Yeah.
Sex, cocaine, any other sin is very powerful, right?
Why is it a sin?
Because God says so.
So if God didn't say so, it would be okay.
Of course, if God, whatever God says is okay, it's okay. Whatever He says is not okay, it's not
So
okay.
it's not objectively wrong. It's just wrong because God happened to say it was wrong. But if he didn't say it, it would have been okay.
Yeah, just like getting drunk or same-sex marriage or having sex outside of marriage or any other thing. If He would say it's all right, it's all right. But Him being
Okay.
the sovereign God
Mm-hmm.
has the right to say what's good and what's bad. And He doesn't do
Okay.
it from a vindictive standpoint. He doesn't do it from a, He's not a
And I
killjoy.
think we've talked about this before. If he says it's okay to um sexually assault people as long as you marry them afterwards, then that becomes okay too, right?
Whatever God says is okay, it's okay.
Okay. Um, and so have you ever seen God?
No.
You've seen homosexual people. You said you have a person in your life who's homosexual, right?
Yes.
Does it bother you at all that someone you've never seen is telling you to hate something about someone that you see every day and claim you love?
No.
Interesting.
You as a believer, um, B, you know this. I mean, as a believer, either you agree with God or you don't agree with God. Either you love God
Mm-hmm.
or you don't love God. There's no middle ground. And God, out of His love, out of His character, who He is, He has the right. A God who is love, a God who's sovereign, has the right to say what's right and what's wrong. That's where we get our morals from. That's where we get our standards of right and wrong from.
I don't think that's true at all. I don't think we get our morals from God at all, because
Oh, yeah.
there's several things that your God, the God of the Bible, says is okay that I think are horrendous. So I can't be getting my morals from Him,
Well,
right? Would you agree with that principally?
for you, yeah. For
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Um, so we got a bunch of twos in the chat. People say no, I'm straight and I cannot choose to enjoy homosexual sex. It's not how I am. I
That's
could
their
not choose that.
that's their choice, right? That's their choice. We have a right. You can choose to. You can't say that you cannot. You can choose to. You choose not to.
Robert, I'm telling you right now, I know me. My
I know me
there's a
too.
two in the chat for me. I cannot choose to enjoy homosexual sex. I cannot. Somebody asked me on my Facebook page, maybe about 5 or 6 months ago. They said, could I date? Because I was sort of coming out the closet with my support for trans individuals, and then somebody basically was like trying to like call my bluff, and they said, "Okay, Brady, I hear you. Could you date a trans woman?" I said, "You know what? I don't think I could." But then I added this. But I think the men who could date a trans woman, I think they're a better person than I am. I think that they're better than me, not worse than me. I cannot choose that. And the people who are
You,
able to get their minds around something that's just counter to their way of being, I
completely,
think
$100%.
I think it's an extra dose of humanity it takes to do that, not a lesser. Like it seems like from the Bible's perspective, you're lessening your humanity to engage in homosexual acts or to to support somebody transitioning. I don't think it's lessening. I think you're becoming more fully human to understand how wide is the diversity in human sexuality and in human identity, and to be able to embrace that, and not just embrace it theoretically. I embrace it theoretically, but other people embrace it practically. I think that makes you a better human, not worse.
I hear you.
What do you think?
Well, I think anytime we're talking about what we could do.
Hmm.
It comes from a framework of where we're at, right? I said it before.
Hmm.
What we believe about God will be seen by the lives that we live.
Okay.
So
So somebody you mentioned a few things. You talked about people smoking crack and drunk and all that. Those things
yeah,
harm people, right? I think it's understandable why you could say, "I don't like you smoking crack. I love you." Can you make a parallel argument for, "I don't like you being homosexual. I love you"? Like on one hand, you've got things that
it's
are harming
detrimental.
the person. Say again.
Yeah, the scripture is clear about fornication. That fornication, those who commit fornication, adultery, what does it say? You're harming yourself. You're harming your body. You're sinning against yourself. You're sinning. It's very clear.
I'm sinning. So hold on, wait. How are you sinning? Because remember, the question I asked you was drugs, alcohol, you're harming yourself. You brought up a
Yes,
scripture where you talked about somebody sinning against themselves, but sinning against themselves is not necessarily harming themselves. Where is the harm?
that's what you're saying. And we know what's going on here, right? You again, you have your framework of definitions for what it means according to the Word of God, and I have mine. If the Bible says so, then that's what you're doing. How? I don't know how. I don't know how. But the Bible says clearly that
Think about what you just said.
you are sinning against your body.
If you said to a loved one, "I don't like you smoking crack. I love you," and they say, "Why don't you like me smoking crack?" And you say, "Because you're harming yourself." And they said, "How?" You'd be able to answer that question, wouldn't you?
Yes.
If they said, if you say, "I don't like you drinking and getting drunk all the time. I love you," and they say, "What's wrong with me drinking?" You say, "You're harming yourself." And they said, "How am I harming myself by drinking and getting drunk?" You'd be able to answer that question, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I believe, as I'm thinking about, I believe that sinning against your body is that if you continue in that sin, right? If you
Mhm.
continue living a life of disobedience, it shows you don't love God, that you don't care about God, that you're not submissive to God. So
Robert, do you understand what you're saying right now? It's so profound what you're saying. Because look, listen, I want you to think about what just happened. With smoking crack, you could identify the harm. With getting drunk, you could identify the harm. With homosexual sex, you already said you don't know how you can identify the harm. But then when I pushed you, you could identify the harm. But you know what the harm was? The harm was not actually in the act. The harm was God doesn't like it, and God's going to harm you when you die for being
the,
homosexual. Hold on, listen. The only harm in the homosexual act is what God's going to do to the homosexual. There's nothing harmful from the act itself. With the crack and the drinking, there's harm in the act itself. With the homosexual sex, the only harm you've been able to identify is God's going to get you and punish you for that. There's no harm in the act itself. Do you understand
it,
that?
it- no, it's that, again, you're framing it from your viewpoint. It has to be
I'm
harm in
taking
it
what you
because
just
God said
said
it's
and
not.
showing you, I'm just showing you what you just said.
Right. No, if God says it's not good, then it's not good. We can
Why is
frame
it
it any
not
way we
good?
want. If it's the simple fact that God, who knows all things, says it's not good. If God
Why
says
is
sin,
it
it's not
good?
good.
So hold on. Let's flip it on the other extreme. If God says it's not good, then it's not, even though we don't know how. How about on the other side? What about when God calls things good that we can't understand? When God says you can go into the land, if you find a young woman who's beautiful, you can take her and bring her into your house and marry her, let her mourn her family that you killed. So clearly, this is not somebody who's going willingly. You're capturing this person and then making them marry you. If God says that's good, is that good?
If God says so, B, listen, if God,
Why is it good? What's
because
good
God,
about it?
God is the God who's holy and righteous. If we embrace our God, if we embrace that
Mhm,
God, then it's impossible for him to do, I said it before, to do
mhm.
anything that's bad. So our good, that what we consider good as humans, we have to redefine what's good when our good does not line up with God's good. when it does not line up with his will, when it does not line up with his
Or
plan.
or that's an option. God's calling RAPE good. I don't see how it is, but I'm going to have to call it good. God calls homosexual sex bad. I don't see how it's bad, but I got to call it bad. We could just give in to his definitions of good and bad, or we could stand up for ourselves and call BS, first of all, because no God has ever appeared to tell us these things. Only men have told us these. Because, Robert, here's the thing. Here's why this matters. How do you know that you're not just giving in to the moral standards of bigoted men from the past? Wouldn't bigoted men say it's okay to go into another society and take their women and RAPE them? Wouldn't bigoted men say that? Wouldn't bigoted men say homosexuality is wrong?
Listen to you again from your viewpoint, B, right? From your viewpoint, when we're talking about
I'm asking from
morals,
yours.
yeah, listen to me. From your viewpoint, I'm addressing, right? When we're talking
Okay.
about morals, when we're talking about what's right and what's wrong, when we're talking about the ways of God versus the ways of man, right? There has to be a clear distinction. That's why I say if we're believers in God, then we come to a crossroad, a fork in the road where our belief in good and what God calls good are different, then we have to submit to his will, his way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about moral, you're making this big point. And again, if we just ask the question, why does it matter? Why does it matter that homosexuality is wrong or right? Why does it matter that sin is sin or sin is not sin? Why does it matter, B? If our
Because
worldview,
because
if our
because I
worldview, hear
think
me
what we
out.
mean, let me answer that question. That's a great question. I think what we mean when we say good and bad, what we're talking about is it going to harm someone or not? Is it going to further somebody's experience of life? Is it going to lead to flourishing? Is it going to lead to growth and pleasure and the things that we desire for our society? Or is it going to take away from that?
So
And so if it's harmful to that, then we call it bad. And I think this goes to something I was going to say because I forgot what I was saying before you got on. I think one of the reasons why ancient society saw homosexuality as bad and then put those words in God's mouth is because look at us. We're 300 people strong, but those people over there, they're 800 people strong. We need more numbers. Homosexuality is not going to get us more numbers, is it? So it's not going to lead to us flourishing the way we want. So we're going to outlaw that because we need us produce. Matter of fact, think about what's happening in America right now. White Christian nationalism is one of their strongest pushes is for white people in this country to reproduce. Trump is actually they even floated the idea of giving people tax incentives or straight up payments to have more children. Why? So that we can outbreed Islamic countries. We gotta get we gotta get the brown people out of America. That's what the whole immigration thing is. And then we need our white people to reproduce more because we're being out reproduced by the black and brown folk. It's almost like the reptile mind. You go back in ancient society and all they're thinking about is how are we going to make sure that we don't get outbred by the peoples around us? And homosexuality is not going to allow us to do that. And so because of that, it's harmful. And because of that, we're going to call it a sin and put that law in the mouth of a God. And then here you are in 2026, still parroting that mindset, I think.
well, that you have a right to think that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go into the coming out thing of with homosexuals and all that stuff, and it being against the law and all of that back in the day, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason for that. Where did that come from? Anyway, when we're talking
Wait.
about
What do you
Deuteronomy,
mean? Hold on real quick. What do you mean?
that it was against the law to be homosexual at one point in time. They could have been put in jail for being
Right.
homosexuals, right?
And in the Bible, they could be killed. Yeah.
That right. I'm saying where did that come from?
Where do,
Why was it such an issue? Why was it frowned upon? Right?
because of the freaking Bible.
No,
Like,
What?
Well, no, let me not just say just the Bible, because of the Bible and people's xenophobia and prejudice. That's just, it's innate in us. We don't like things that are different from us. It's scary. That's just how our brains develop. We're trying to keep ourselves safe. Have you ever looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
No.
Okay. So one of the things that happened for me in my Christianity early on, I did not deconvert, but it did open me up to some things, right? Was looking at sociology and look at what sociologists have put together in terms of how societies have come together and helped themselves to get along. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he worked out like what are the motivations that make people do the things that they do. And he says you got these base level needs down here. What do you call your physiological needs, right? Sleeping, eating, drinking, trying to maintain homeostasis, things that your body is going to call for. And if you try to stop it, your body's going to say, F you, I'm doing it anyway. These are your physiological needs, your base level needs. Until you meet these, it's hard to move up to the next level. Right above that is your safety needs. You're thinking about protection from the elements, rain, snow, cold, heat, from the elements, protection from enemies, because even if you got all your bottom level needs met, you got homeostasis, but you're not safe, then your psychology is going to be off because you're worried about these threats. But then after you build your physiological needs and your safety needs, then you can kind of move up to what he called the love and belonging needs. Then you have esteem needs. Then you have the actualization needs. But one of the things, the only reason why I'm saying all that is because way back down here on the bottom levels of physiology and safety, if somebody can make you feel like your physiological needs are being threatened, you're not going to be able to feed yourself, or your safety is being threatened, those people over there, they're going to harm you. Think about Trump's campaign, right? It's all about the bottom two levels, right? A lot of times on the left, they're not really thinking about the bottom two levels. They're trying to motivate you on love and belonging needs or your esteem needs. But on the right, a lot of times it's the bottom two level needs because those are the most instinctual. If I can make you feel afraid, I got you. And homosexuality makes people feel afraid. I don't know what that's about. I don't know those people. I don't know how they live. I don't like that. It's different than me. I'm scared. I'm going to outlaw it. And it's not just me, God's saying it. And you put it in the mouth of a God so that now people think, oh, God don't like it? Like me? What a surprise. God don't like the same stuff I don't like. Imagine that. Coincidence, right? God happens to hate the things I hate. So I'm just saying all that to say, where did it come from that homosexuality was outlawed? It's instinctive for humans to try to find the threat and isolate it or eliminate it. And homosexuality was presented as a threat. That's where it comes from.
So I agree with you that it comes from God and it comes from society.
You don't agree with me. I didn't say it comes from God.
Yeah, you did. You said the Bible.
Well, I'm saying men put those words in the mouth of God
Okay.
because of their basic, bigoted, instinctual needs and felt threats and felt needs. That's where it comes from. And we're still doing it today.
Um, Two things, right? Morally, right? Um, our worldview, right? So you're asking this, you're posing these questions. Why?
Mhm.
Why is it? Why does it matter? B? Why does it matter? Why are these conversations? Why do they matter? When, if again, if at the end, B, we just cease to exist and we know nothing, then it really, again, when it all comes down to it, it really doesn't matter. You're taking a stand, for instance, you're taking a stand on Deuteronomy, right? And you said
Leviticus so far.
from the clear teachings, right,
Mhm.
of Deuteronomy, you've come to
Leviticus. I'm coming from Leviticus so far.
Leviticus.
I didn't get to Deuteronomy yet.
Yeah, okay. You're taking a hard stance on the scriptures when it comes to that,
Mhm.
right? The clear teachings, that's what it says, right?
Mhm.
So taking a clear stance on it, why does it matter that God says it's wrong? Why does it matter, B? It shouldn't matter at all if
Robert,
we,
even if there
as
was nothing
believers,
after this life,
I'll speak for myself.
finish.
As a believer, I don't care what anybody does in their bedroom. I could care one iota what you do. Do you? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes out and the act is wrong, as a believer, then I have to say the act is wrong, right?
But wait,
Keep
why do you care? You just said you don't care what people do in their bedrooms. Why do you care?
when it comes out, when it's known, then you have to say it's wrong.
But if you just said you don't care, why even say it's wrong if you don't care?
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Help me out.
I'm not interested in what my next door neighbor is doing. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing in their bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. But if it comes out that they're homosexuals, or if it comes out that they're smoke crack, if it comes out that they're murderers, liars, whatever, then I have to say it's wrong because God says it's wrong. And out of love, individuals, again, who do not accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, hell is going to be their home.
Once again, Robert, you're proving you don't know why it's wrong. You can't see any harm in it. And the only harm that is going to come from it is the harm that God's going to add to them when they die. That's the only harm that's coming from their homosexual sex, is the
Right?
harm God's going to add to them when they die. That's a little unfair, isn't it?
No, it's unfair. It's only unfair to unbelievers. It's only unfair to individuals who do not embrace God as Savior, as Lord, as the one
Mm-hmm.
who has a sovereign right to do what He wants to do, when He wants to do it, and how He wants to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're holding fast to Deuteronomy, right? You made a statement that Jesus never addressed homosexuality. He really did
How so?
in Mark chapter 10, right? In Mark chapter 10, just roll with me if you don't mind.
Nope, go ahead.
Mark chapter 10, starting at verse 2,
Mm-hmm.
it says, and some Pharisees came, excuse me,
About
and some
divorce, right?
Pharisees, say it again.
This is the passage about divorce.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And some
Good.
Pharisees came up to him, testing him, and began to question him whether it was lawful for a man, listen, for a man to divorce his wife. That's the context.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he answered and said to them, what did Moses command you? And they said, Moses permitted a man to write the certificate of divorce and send her away. Verse 5, but Jesus said to them, because of the hardness of your heart, he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation,
Mm-hmm.
God made them what? Male and female. Verse
Mm-hmm.
7, for this cause a man shall leave his father and mother, and the two shall become one flesh. Consequently, they are no longer two, but one flesh. Goes on, what therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. So, in the context of divorce, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the context of divorce in God's eyes is to be between a man and a woman. Number one, He solidified that divorce. They came trying to trick him, and he said, "Man and woman." He said, matter of fact, Moses said, wrote the certificate of divorce because of the hardness of your heart. He wasn't given the green light for divorce, but he said because of the hardness of their hearts, he permitted it to be so. But then he says, in the beginning of creation, he
Mm-hmm.
created them what? Male and female in the context of marriage. Male and female. That's God's design for marriage. That's God's design for divorce, is to be between a man and a woman. And there's particular boundaries
So
for that divorce, right?
yeah, there's several ways I would address what you're saying here. If God made them male and female in the beginning,
Yes.
right?
I don't mean to cut
At
you off.
some
Please,
point, go ahead.
can I ask you this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, can we agree that's what the Bible says? Whether we agree with it or
Well, we
not.
can
Is that
agree
what
that
it
that's what
says?
Jesus is saying about the Genesis chapters 1 and 2. But even what Jesus is saying, I laughed a minute ago. I hope you don't think I was being disrespectful when I laughed after you read the
No,
passage.
I know.
But when you said what God is joined together, let no man put asunder, or he took the two and made one, I think that's so funny because that's what Jesus was actually doing with Genesis 1 and 2. Genesis 1 and 2 are two completely different creation stories, but Jesus took Genesis 1 and 2 and made the two of them one. They the two chapters contradict each other, and Jesus made the two one. I just thought that was a funny thing. But that's what Jesus is saying about Genesis. So when you say what
So
the Bible, can we agree that's what the Bible says? The
whether we
Bible
agree
doesn't
with,
say anything. People say what the Bible says, and Jesus was one of those people who says what the Bible says, what the Hebrew Bible said.
so again, my question is, can we agree, whether we agree with it or not? Is that what Jesus said? Did Jesus,
Yes, that's what Jesus
according to the
said.
clear, according to the clear reading of the passage, did Jesus say that marriage is be between man and
Well, Jesus's point was not about whether or not two men can get married. Jesus's point was, can a man divorce his wife? And so when Jesus says God made the two of them one, what God put together, let no man bring asunder. What he's saying is you cannot. He's saying you can't divorce your wife. He's not saying anything about homosexual marriage at all.
Okay, so and hear me out. I'm not
Mhm.
asking you for an interpretation. I'm not trying to pour interpretation to the text. I'm simply saying, did he say marriage between a man and a woman? Is that what he said?
No.
Okay, then there's nothing else to discuss.
Read
I
it
mean,
again and show me where he says marriage is between a man and a woman.
he says the Pharisees came to test him, right?
Hmm.
They're talking about, can a man divorce his wife? That's the
Hmm.
context. Can a man divorce his wife?
Hmm.
Jesus says at verse 6, this is talking about marriage, divorce. He says
Hold
in
on.
verse 6, but from the beginning
Okay.
of creation,
Hmm.
God made them male and female. This is in the context of marriage and divorce. He
You're
created
saying
them.
it's in the context of marriage, which I agree, but he does not say marriage is between a male and a man and a woman. He does not say those words.
He
Would you
so
agree? He does
what
not
is
say
he?
those words, right?
I disagree. He did say those words.
You have not read anything like that. You said this is in the context of marriage, but he does not say marriage is between a male and a female. He does not say those words. You wanted me to stick to the
So
text and not bring any interpretation. He does not say the words marriage is between a male and a female. Read me
okay,
that part where he says that.
answer me this then. What is he referencing when he says,
Hold on. All you've got to do is read me the part where he says it. Marriage is between a man and a woman.
in all fairness, in all
Mhm.
fairness, you're asking me a question and I'm trying to answer it, right? So we agree that the context is,
No, no, no. I'm not asking you a question. I'm asking you to read me the thing that you said is there, where Jesus says marriage is between a man and a woman. Or would you admit that that's
so
not there?
it is there. It's only
Read it
not,
then.
it's
Just
on
read those words. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Read those words, Robert,
B.
right now.
What you're doing, B, is because you don't agree with the text, you're not going to allow the
That's not what
text
I'm
to speak
doing.
for
That's
itself.
not what I'm doing.
It
That's not what
is
I'm
because
doing.
you,
I
B, you
agree
know.
the context is
Let me ask
marriage.
you this
I'm not
question. I'm
arguing that
sorry.
it's not marriage.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you this question. When you were a
Mhm.
believer, how did you read that text?
I read it as talking about, as Jesus answering the question, can a man divorce his wife? And Jesus's response is the man and the woman are supposed to be together and not separate. That's what God's plan was, for them to be together and not separate.
So
Does
what?
not say
What?
whether or not a man can be with a man or a woman can be with a
Let
woman.
me
It's just saying that when it comes to marriage, God's plan was for the man and the woman to not divorce. That's all it's saying.
so I'm gonna ask you the question that you asked me. Where does it
Mhm.
say what you just said? Those exact words. Where does it say that, B?
That's exactly what it says. What God put together, let no man bring asunder. However you want to, I'm from King James, or that's exactly what it says.
But I'm asking you for the
God
exact
put
wording as you're doing to me, B. I'm asking you the same words. Show me where it says
you
what you
could
just
you could
said.
read the text, and I will say amen to exactly what the text says. It does not say what you're saying it says. It does not say marriage is between a man and a woman. It
So you
says from the beginning, It was Moses gave you this commandment because of the hardness of your heart, but from the beginning it was not so. What was not so? That a man could divorce his wife. That's what the context is. It's not, can only men and women get married? I'm not even saying that they can biblically. All I'm saying is it's not even addressing that point.
So again, I'm asking you at verse number 6, when he references, but from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 7, for this cause a man shall leave his father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
What is that referencing, B? What is that referencing?
It is
Verses 6
referencing.
and 7.
Well, so I have people who will say it's not referencing marriage because originally marriage wasn't the context as much as it was the committed relationship between a man and woman. I will go as far as to say it's referencing marriage. I don't disagree with that.
So who did he say was to be married? Who, in the context, who did he say? What did he
He's
say?
not giving laws about who can and who can't get married. That's not the point. The point
So,
is the man and the woman are going to be married and they cannot get a divorce outside of adultery. That's what the point is. And it has nothing to do with whether or not it's homosexual or heterosexual man. That's not the point.
so again, B, when you read this text as a believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to the Genesis text, it's even clearer. The two shall leave, for this reason, the man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. And cleave to his wife, man and woman in Genesis, right? So,
I
why did he
agree that the
create?
Bible does not support same-sex marriage. I'm not arguing that it does. You think I'm arguing that the Bible supports same-sex marriage?
No, you're saying you asked the question about homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And you said Jesus didn't say anything about homosexuality. He didn't address it. And I'm saying in this text, he does address it because he created man and woman for a specific reason. He said in Genesis to Adam that it's not good that man should be alone. I will make for
Let,
him
let
a
me let
help,
me
right?
let me give it. I'll give you this because I won't agree with you in terms of this passage in some kind of way, like being a statement about homosexuality. But I will agree with you on this part. Jesus does amen everything the God of the Old Testament says, and the God of the Old Testament is against homosexual sex. So in that way, you can say Jesus is against homosexuality. I will give you that.
Well, I'm thankful that you did be only for the reason of taking a stance for homosexuality being a fact in the Old Testament, and then make a statement that Jesus never addressed homosexuality, when in actuality he goes all the way back to the beginning to lay the groundwork for what marriage looks like, what marriage should be, right? So again, as believers, we have to say what God says. God does not hate homosexuals. God loves all of mankind. The,
But God hates homosexuality.
he hates all sin.
He hates
There's some
homosexuality.
sins yes, there's some sins he calls an abomination. He doesn't call
And
all sins an
homosexuality is
abomination.
one of them,
And
right?
one homosexuality is one of them.
And you think people choose to be homosexual. You don't think that they're born that way.
No, because it wouldn't be an abomination. It wouldn't be sin if we
I'm
hold fast
glad you
to
said
the
that.
scripture.
If people were naturally innately homosexual, then that couldn't be a sin, right?
If God said it wasn't a sin, it can't be a
No,
sin.
no, no. That's a different question. That's a different because a minute ago you just said if it was natural, it wouldn't be a sin. I just want to make sure that
Yeah, if it was,
you're willing to stand
God
on
wouldn't
that.
call it a sin. Yes, God wouldn't call it
God
a
wouldn't call
sin
it a
if
sin
it's
if it was
something
natural.
that, yeah, if it's the way he created mankind, created woman and man, he wouldn't call it a sin.
Okay. Um, Robert, the person that you know, and maybe this is part of the issue, because you said you have somebody in your life who is homosexual, somebody that you love, right?
Yes.
You might think and say that that person chose to be homosexual, but would they agree with
I
you,
don't
or would
say
they
that.
say
I don't say
you don't?
that.
I'm not asking if you
I
say it
agree
to
with what.
them.
Yeah, I agree with God. It's not me. I
Where
only
does
say
God
it's wrong
say?
because
Hold
God
on,
says
let
it's
me
wrong.
think. Well, I'm not asking you whether God says it's wrong. I'm asking you about it being a choice. You think that the
Yes, it's
person
a
who's
choice.
homosexual, the person you love, chose to be homosexual, right?
In the
Would they
context,
agree with you?
let me push it a little further, right? In the
Yo, my
beginning, I said
God, I've been
all
looking
of us.
for you. Hold on, I'm sorry, real quick. I'm real quick.
No worries.
I just saw Goat Herder. Where you been at, yo? Goat Herder's Guide to the Galaxy. Where you been? Good to see you, fam. Sorry about that, Rob. I hadn't seen him in months, maybe.
Um,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
this is not popular, but it's true, right? All of us are born with a sinful nature, a bent towards sin, right? So all sin to human beings, unregenerate, is natural. It's a natural tendency to sin,
You just said
whatever
if it's
that sin may
natural, then
be.
God would be okay with it.
Now, hear me out. You're not hearing me out.
I
So
am hearing you. I'm hearing a contradiction.
no, I'm trying to help you with the contradiction, right? So all of
But do
us
you
are.
hear the contradiction,
No,
or is
it's
it
only
just me?
contradiction because of what your belief system. I'm trying to give you the understanding of why it's a
You said if
contradiction.
it was natural, God wouldn't hate it.
God
Then
would
you
not
just said
hate
that
it
we're
if it was
all naturally
natural.
born sinful.
We're all born sinful, right?
Naturally, right?
Natural born sinners.
Okay.
So so when I say that it's not natural, that I mean it's that they were not born that way. Be very clear. They were not born homosexuals.
Are we born in sin?
Yes.
So then it's natural, right?
It's natural to sin. It's natural to
Go.
sin, yes.
Okay.
We're
Go
not,
on.
listen, the same way a person is not born a liar. Lying is natural, right? I remember my 2-year-old son, right? We're raising him up the right way and trying to get him to love the Lord, teaching him the right way. He was writing on the wall, right? I saw him, I was watching this, I saw him writing on the wall. And my response was, boy, what are you writing on the wall for? He said, he said, no, I'm not writing on the wall. What? He said, no, Daddy. What? Nobody taught him to lie? It's
Was it
natural. It comes
natural?
natural. Huh?
Can you please square that with your statement a minute ago that if it's natural, God would not hate it?
Again, I did pray. I'm going to say it again. It's natural from the stance of not being born a homosexual. It's natural as our sinful nature to gravitate towards sin.
It's starting to hurt, Robert. I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying, but it's starting to hurt.
Yeah, we're, if we're not taught right from wrong, our inclination, our go-to is sin.
Naturally?
Whether it's lying, whether it's having sex outside of
Okay.
marriage, whatever it is,
So here's what
it's
I was trying to get to a minute ago. I was trying to get to this. The person that's in your life that you said you love who is homosexual, you would say that that person chose to be homosexual, right?
yes, God
Would
says
that
so.
person, I get it, would that person agree that they chose to be homosexual? Or would they
I'm not
say, this is how I naturally am?
I'm not sure.
You don't think it's worth asking them?
No, it's not worth asking them.
How many homosexual individuals do you know?
Not many.
Of the
Maybe
few that you know, have you ever asked
maybe
any of
three.
them, when did you know that you had same sex attraction? How did you know? Was it natural or did you choose it? Have you ever
No,
asked any of them that?
no. And the reason it's not important to me, it's not how or when or how they think.
That's so heartless, Robert. That's
No, it's not. It's
heartless.
not. It's not heartless.
It's
If
heartless to
if God,
have somebody who.
do you
Let
act?
me
Do we
let me
act?
tell you why I think it's heartless. So you can tell me why you think it's not. It's heartless to have somebody who has an orientation that makes them a minority, that makes them bullied and picked on by other people, that makes them the butt of jokes. To have that kind of person around you and to have your own theological thoughts about why they're that way. You think they chose it. You think that they're going to go to hell because of it. You agree with a God you've never seen over
They,
people you actually see. Hold on. To have all that and to never be curious enough to ask them, I think you chose this, but what do you say? To not even hear their side of it, that's heartless.
it's not heartless because they know that I believe that their lifestyle is sinful, and why? Because God says so. So whether you believe you were born that way or not, it doesn't matter. It's wrong. God says it's wrong.
Hold on, Robert. Here's where the heartlessness is. The fact that you just said it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Somebody
matter.
can have a whole world view of themselves about who and how they are, how they came to the planet, what the Constitution is, they got a whole view of themselves, and you
Yes,
say it doesn't matter because my Bible tells me otherwise.
yes.
That's
It's
crazy.
no, it's no crazier than any other sin. It's no crazier than any other sin. If you meet a liar, you're
I'm
not going to
so
ask the
glad you
liar.
called
I'm
in.
not, I'm not going to ask the liar, when did you discover you were a liar? What prompted you to start lying? I'm
Mm,
not going to
mm,
ask the
mm.
person who's fornicating, having sex outside of marriage. I'm not going to say, hey, when did you start having sex outside of marriage and why? Before marriage and why? That B, you knew as a believer when you were a believer, it didn't matter. It only matters.
No, it did matter to
It
me. I
only
said this before
matters.
you got on.
Hear me
It
out.
mattered to
It,
me. I could not put homosexuality in the same category as smoking crack, drinking, lying, murder. I could not put it in the same category, even as a believer.
what B? Can you understand that you didn't agree with God? God said it's sin, and you said it's
I
not.
gave God the benefit of the doubt that he's not an asshole. That was
Yeah.
me as a believer.
Whether it was a benefit of the doubt, your heart
Hmm.
posture was, I'm gonna give God the benefit of the doubt. I don't agree with him. I'm going to separate this right here. I don't have that same belief system. So when an individual, it, if you ever witness to an individual, it's only important to um, build some kind of rapport, build some kind of relationship to ask those kind of questions. But in reality, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. You don't ask. I don't ask.
Yeah.
I've never asked. I have people who I know and love dearly that have decided to leave their wives for another woman, and they are supposed to be believers, and they know it's wrong. I didn't ask that. I didn't ask that brother. I didn't say, "Hey, when did you
Do
think
you
it's
think the
okay?"
person who is in a homosexual relationship, the person that has same sex attraction, do you think that that person feels about their same sex attraction the way that person who left his wife or left their husband for somebody else felt about, like, I know this is wrong, but I'm still going to do it anyway? Do you think the person who's in a same sex relationship or has the attraction feels just as, damn, I know I'm wrong, but, or do you think that they struggle because how can this be wrong when this feels so innate, so much a part of who I am? Can you even relate to somebody having that kind of struggle?
No, I relate 100%. When I say 100%, I understand. I fully understand.
I don't think you
It's,
can,
it's the
Rob. I don't
same
think you can
thing with
say
the
you fully
person.
understand and then say that the person,
When I say
like,
fully understand, it's because it's a deception, right? It's again, sex is a very powerful tool. When we read scriptures, right? We see the struggle. We see the fall of great men, women that have fallen as a result of sexual sin. We've seen a whole communities wiped out because of sin, because of sexual sin. So the devil is good at taking what God created as good and turning it bad, and have people to believe that the bad is
Turning
good.
it bad, but you can't tell me what's so bad about homosexuality other than the fact that God's going to hell people for it.
That's all that matters, B.
Robert, man, everybody in the chat wants so much better for you than what you're saying about your fellow human beings, all for the sake of a God you've never seen. Like you're
B,
throwing
I
humans under the
expect this, B.
bus.
It's not, listen to, it's not surprising, B. I'm in hostile territory. It's not
No,
surprising. It
Robert,
doesn't change or
it's
affect
not that
me,
you're in hostile territory, it's that you're
for
being
sure.
hostile to your fellow human beings. You're
No,
throwing them under
according
the
to you
bus.
guys, you guys say God is hostile to fellow human beings.
Anybody who says you deserve to go to hell because you had a same-sex attraction, that's hostility.
According to you, B, you have to say that. It does not line up with what you agree with, B. You have to say that. And the
The only
fact
reason
B
why it
said, I
doesn't line
want
up with what I agree with is because I side with humans over a God I've never seen. That's the
you,
only reason why it lines up with what I agree with.
you have to do that, B. You have to do that. You have to disregard what God says, B, in order to.
I don't know that God said anything. I'm not disregarding it. I'm waiting for evidence that he said anything at all.
Yeah. B, let me ask you this question. If clear proof, documentation, clear proof could be given to you that God
Mhm.
exists and that his word is true, would you change your belief system?
When you say that God is true and that his word is true, you're assuming that the God who is true is the God of the Bible. Is that your scenario?
Yeah, I'm asking you very clearly, the God that you say you don't believe in, the God of the scriptures,
I don't believe
the
in
Bible,
any God. It's not just
hear,
this God, it's any God. So
please
you're
hear me
talking
out.
about a specific God as if it's the only God concept.
The, co-
I want to
the,
make sure you word the question right.
I'm very clear, B. You were once a believer, you say. That
Hmm.
God that you
Okay,
now
that God.
reject, the
Hmm.
word that you say that you used to believe in, if there was clear evidence that those things are real and true, would that change your belief system? Would you
I
repent?
want to believe true things. If I had evidence that the Bible was telling me true things, I would believe it in a heartbeat.
You would embrace it in heartbeat and serve and give your life wholeheartedly to the Lord?
If I had clear evidence that the things it says is true, yes.
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 Okay. All right.
But I have
So,
clear evidence that it's not, so I am where I am. I still would have a hard
okay.
time with I still would have a hard time with telling people you're going to go to hell for something that you had no choice over. I think that's crazy. I would tell the
So,
God who I would tell the God who I believe in, I'm gonna preach your word, but I'm not gonna preach all of it because I don't know what's going on with this part of your word here. I
no,
would not think it's good to tell people that they could RAPE prisoners of war. I would not tell people that they're going to go to hell because I would say this is what the God says. I don't agree with it, but can't beat them. Got to join them. I would not walk around saying it must be right because he said it.
excuse me. So you put yourself right back in where you were as a believer, right? That you're not going to serve that God wholeheartedly. You're not going to believe that all that He says is to be
I'll
embraced
believe to the
by
degree
me.
that I can. I'll be like boy
Yes.
that said, I believe, help my unbelief.
Well, man, it's been good. B, I really appreciate your spirit, man.
Yeah, the red
I pray
flags
that
did start flying
something.
just like 2 minutes ago. So we're good to go.
Okay.
Appreciate you,
Um,
man. Thanks for calling.
appreciate the conversation, man.
Yep.
I pray that we both learn something from one another.
Till next, man.
Yeah,
Have a good
I'll
one.
share this with you, B. Let me share this when I'm going to
Okay.
run, right? Um, I have a handle on creation, right? The Genesis account 1 and 2, right?
Hmm.
I have a friend named Brother Tony. I call him Brother Tony,
Hold on.
right?
I'm sorry, real quick.
This,
I want to know what you're saying.
yes,
What do you mean when you say you have a handle on it?
as to the creation bears witness that it gives witness to the testimony of that there is a God, right? That what we read in Genesis 1 and 2 is real, right? That it really did happen.
Okay,
I have a
I don't think you have a handle on it, but either way, go ahead.
um, I have a brother in Las Vegas, right?
Mhm.
He can give specific reasons outside of Genesis 1 and 2,
Mhm.
Why? Creation. He created creation, right? So what I've done is I've had these videos about creation from scientists and stuff. What it has compelled me to do is to go and to look at those and to familiarize
Mhm.
myself with science, right?
Mhm.
Science should agree with God, right? So that's what I'm doing. So when I finish doing my homework on that, um, I'll get back.
What
I'll get back
sources
with
are
you.
you going to do that homework?
This is a guy named Lee Strobel. You probably heard of him. Case for Christ, the case for faith, and the case for the creation. Right? That this brother over a period of 20 years,
Nope,
a period
nope,
of
nope,
20
nope,
years.
nope. So, are we connected on Facebook at all?
Yes.
Can you message me on Facebook? I'll send you links to videos about Lee Strobel's supposed testimony and the things that people like Lee Strobel say to Christians to make them think I had this crazy experience and I converted to Christianity because I was an atheist and I was doubting. Is BS, number one. But number two, Lee Strobel is nowhere near an authority on the science of creation.
No, he's not.
Nowhere near it.
He's not. But the people that he went to are PhDs.
In what? I guarantee you they're not PhDs in the field that they need to be. A lot of times with Christian scholars, they have PhDs in one field and then they write about a field that they're not even qualified to write in.
Some.
But either way, you were making a point. You're going to do
Yeah.
your
No.
research
Yeah.
on the creation and go ahead.
Yes. No. That's it. Just doing research on the creation from individuals that are PhDs. Some of them are not believers, but
Mm-hmm.
they give testimony um, that they don't believe in the Darwinian, uh, what is it called? Darwinian,
Darwinian
some
evolution.
species. Yeah, evolution, but it's a book he wrote, Darwin, some of the species, I forgot. Some of the species,
Oh,
Darwin.
origin of
It's a
species?
work by Darwin. The
Origin of
origin of
species.
species, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah.
So look, everybody in the chat is
So they,
saying Lee Strobel is a grifter. Lee Strobel, ha 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 ha. Like there are things that people know about Lee Strobel that you might want to know before you start investing in his work. So
no,
message me on
I'm,
Facebook
I'm,
and I'll send you some
I'm
links.
sure, okay, I'm sure whoever it
Mhm.
is that comes out and has a testimony about their walk with the Lord and how they were converted, that are well known, that there would be some kind of pushback on it.
No,
That's
there's
expected.
receipts. There's receipts to this pushback. But either way, I'm not necessarily even picking on Lee Strobel as much as I'm saying if you really want to know about whether or not Genesis matches with what we find in the creation, you probably want to look at some different sources. For instance, Robert, and I know we're about to wrap it up, but for instance, what does the Bible say came first? The sun or the earth?
Um, the earth,
The earth. What do astrophysicists and cosmologists, the people who study those things, what do they say came first, the sun or the earth?
some of them say the sun. A lot of a
Uh,
lot.
which of them say the earth came first? Because those are the ones you probably need to run from. Who says the earth came first? That's a cosmologist or astrophysicist or anybody who's looking at anything in that field. Who says the earth came first?
That's what I'm gonna share with you. There's a lot of folk that say that.
Oh, please send me articles, books. I would love to know. Let's go back and forth on Facebook Messenger. I'll send you
Okay,
some links. You send me some. That'd be a great
okay,
conversation.
cool.
Thanks for calling, man.
All right, peace.
Yep, get with you. Um, hour-long call. Matter of fact, maybe a little more than an hour. Several super chats. Let me get to them. If you're out there, you're a theist, you're a Christian, and you feel like I can rep my faith better than that, the link is in the chat. I'll post it again, but they've been posting it the whole time. Link is in the chat. If you're on Instagram, the link is in my bio. If you're on Facebook, it's the top comment. Scroll up. Read some of these super chats. Sage, Thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, sin is not harm. You have to demonstrate that it is hurting the feelings of a being or creature in another. Hmm? You have to demonstrate that it is hurting the feelings of a being or creature in another world. So I guess like if you can't demonstrate how it's hurting a person here, maybe the closest you can do is show that it's hurting the feelings of a God, and then it becomes harm, and then that God's going to hurt us for hurting its feelings. That's the way sin works. That was a crazy conversation about. I can't tell you what the harm is. I just know God says it. It's it's bad, and He's going to put you in hell for it. That's wild. I'm definitely trying to clip that part. That's crazy. Mythos Boy, thank you for the $6.67 super chat instead of the 666. We make up what God says is good. Okay, I don't, but certainly some of us have this habit. That is human history. That is how your God got its laws. People put their words in a God's mouth and put the God in the mountains where people aren't typically going to go to try to find out if he's there or not, or put him in the clouds in the sky on the other side of the dome. They put God somewhere where they thought we weren't going to be able to fact check them. And then once you've got an unfact checkable God, you can make him say anything. That is human history. Atheist Black Woman, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says, Robert just be saying shit. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Back when I was a believer, particularly when I was a young believer, I too was just saying shit. Like I remember being in the lunchroom in high school, 11th grade. Once I became on fire for Jesus, I was in the lunchroom arguing. I remember this one girl named Tanisha. I have no idea what happened to her. Tanisha, we used to argue every day in lunch because she was an atheist. And I there were some times where I don't know what the hell I was saying. I just was like, I gotta have an answer. And then so I had one. It's popping all kinds of shit. But yeah, wildness. Tanner B. Gatlin, thank you for the $5 super chat. The more I see Robert on your show, the more dangerous his conversation seems. I'm concerned for his loved ones. I'm just saying. I'm sort of glad Robert called in because, like I said, a lot of times there are people who are watching and they see and they're just like, man, I probably wouldn't have said that. But hearing it makes me realize I'm too close to that position. I might want a little space. I might want a little distance. Lloyd Tucker, thank you for the $10 super chat. Said, thanks for posting. Thank you for supporting. Theus, where you at? The line is open if you want to call in. And maybe I'll open it up to an atheist too, or agnostic. If you want to call and maybe give your synopsis of what you've heard so far, or maybe you've got thoughts on the topic. Does God hate homosexuality? Maybe you want to call in and share your thoughts. We can maybe even do that. And if you're somebody out there who you're struggling, you've been working through all these issues and you're kind of in your process, you don't know where you're going to land, and maybe you want to talk to somebody who's walked this road before, you can call in as well. This can be whatever it needs to be for the last couple minutes that I'm on here for today. The line is open. The link is out there. Albert Kim is in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, Al? Y'all put up with Robert for quite a while before the red flags started flowing. Was it because you forgot about the red flags like last time? Or was it like, no, this is actually a pretty okay? So it says great discussion so far. were y'all okay with Robert for most of that, or was he vexing your soul, and you were just giving me leeway to to rock with him there? Let me check Facebook real quick. Ambassador says he was vexing my soul. Hey Eddie, vexed. But some of these people, they're good foils. Like they're good sounding boards to get them on, let them say what they say, and then give them the response and let the response reverberate in the ears of the watchers. So I appreciate it, if for nothing else, for that. uh Vex me again. Hey Eddie said AF. All right. I get it. I get it. All right. Well, the fish are not biting right now. So I'm going to go ahead this Thursday. If I can get this Life After Faith, I've had a Life After Faith from Oz. So some of you all know Oz from the online skeptic community. We did a Life After Faith. I've been waiting to edit his, and I think I got time tomorrow to get up. So Vince is calling in. And if I remember, I think Vince, yeah, I enjoyed the conversation with Vince. Let me go ahead and take Vince before I hop off of here. Imani says Robert was fine until the dude basically started saying we choose to be gay. One of the most compelling arguments I've heard against that is, like, think about the trouble, the turmoil, the isolation, the ostracization that people who come out go through. Who the hell is choosing that? Like, what are you talking about? Who's choosing that? But I started to say, because he said the Bible says you choose it, I started to ask him, where does the Bible say that? But then I thought about Romans 1, where Paul says, so many verses I didn't even get to today, where Paul says men exchanged their natural relations with with women for those with men. Women exchange. So that does make it sound like a choice, but I'm just being honest. Even though I saw that as a Christian, I had a hard time saying that people just willy-nilly up and I'm going to exchange my natural, because I know me. I know how it's not just that it's difficult. I know how impossible it would be for me to try to change my sexual orientation. So to say that's a choice, like you either are closeted and gay because you're choosing to stay in the closet. And so you think if I can choose to stay in the closet, maybe people are choosing to be gay. Either or you're just not thinking. Like, how are you thinking that somebody is choosing to practice a sexual orientation that is really not how they get down, but they're going to do it for now? Like, what the? All right. So welcome. I hope back to the program if this is the same Vince. We'll see. Vince, what's good? Welcome back to Icapod.
Hey, what's up? This is the same Vince.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Give us.
Hey, I
I'm
wanted
sorry,
to.
for people who don't know who the same Vince is. Can you just let us know? Atheist, theist, agnostic. Where you at?
Yeah, I'm a deconverted Christian. I'm an atheist now, and
Okay.
a Patreon supporter, like all y'all listeners should be too. So join the Patreon.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. So yeah, what made you want to tap in?
I wanted to see if I could push back actually a little bit.
Let's
Is your
do it.
position that that I just want to make sure I understand. So you
Mm-hmm.
said you can't hate homosexuality
Mm-hmm.
and love homosexual
Homosexuals.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And does that apply? Are you talking specifically to, like, I guess that's specific, but is it apply broadly to other attractions, or would you say?
Other attractions, I would go so far because I can see the slippery slope with that. I would say other attractions that are, I'm going to say, natural, and this may be me fudging a little bit here when I say this because I know where the pushback is going. That's one reason why I'm like, how
You
could
see
I
it already.
clean this up? Natural and um and not harmful to the person that is the subject of the attraction.
Um, okay. And
There's still some
what
danger there,
about,
but I think less. But go ahead.
yeah, I guess, what about, you, you know, if I don't have to say anything specific, but like if you can think of some kind of taboo attraction that someone might have that
Bestiality.
would kind of, sure, bestiality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I had a friend who said, I would say one, I would say I hate bestiality. I'm anti bestiality.
Mm-hmm.
But two, if I
Well,
had a friend who
hold
said,
on.
look,
Let's stick with the one. Why are you anti bestiality? Because I think your why might even answer the question you're about to ask me. Why are you anti?
I think I would probably say something similar to what you said about harm
Mm.
and consent. And there's probably
Hold
some
on.
mix of,
I'm not trying to be slick, but I am
go
going to put
for
you in the hot seat you're about to put me in.
it.
Let's say somebody wants to practice bestiality with an animal who's into it, like and there's no harm. Like a few years ago, Joe Button got in trouble because he says, "Can I even say this? This might get my channel shut down." Joe Button says some crazy stuff about what he does to his dog. And people were like, "Yo, you wilding? Like, what are you talking about?" And Joe Budden was like, "What do you mean? This like I can't da 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 with my dog." And people were like, "Are you like?" Let's say you have a friend who does some things and the animal's into it, and there's no harm. Are you still anti bestiality then?
Well, first thing I will say is I am I'm happy about my decision to not turn my camera on so far because we're wading into some interesting waters here. Um, I mean, if I'm trying to be, I'll be maybe it'll be icky to me, I guess. You know, might be grossed
Mhm,
out, but would
mhm,
I say it's morally wrong? Backed into this corner, I might not. If there's
mhm,
really no harmed parties, um, so yeah, I guess now let's just say we're talking about a situation where there is a lack of consent or there is some harm. Um, I could my friend could identify as I
mhm,
mean I don't know just I know, this is kind of crazy, identify as a someone who has that attraction,
mhm,
but and I could and he too could say, but I recognize that it's bad, so I'm never going to act on
mhm.
it. So he might
I got you.
himself say
Yeah.
I hate bestiality, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I'm just trying to push back
Like
on
I have
the
these desires. I don't know why I have them. I don't even want them because I think
right.
that there are people who are homosexual, and maybe because of their religious upbringing, they would probably identify with that. I don't even want these desires, but I have them. And so maybe you could join that person and say, "Hey, I hate your homosexuality just like you do, but I
Mhm.
still love you." So
Yeah,
maybe
and
that's what you're saying.
just to be clear, I'm not trying to equate the two.
I got you.
I
Yep. Yep.
like
Yep.
I don't I'm just trying to, push the test the boundaries of your thesis here.
Hmm.
Just for just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
conversation's sake. But yeah, I guess that's my point would be I think you can say I hate, again, we'll stick with bestiality, but still love a person who like maybe has those
Ah,
attractions.
I just had a thought. And once again, the point that the disclaimer you just gave is worth mentioning again. None of this is to compare
Right.
homosexuality to bestiality. I just threw that out there because we were looking for a something to kind of test my principle, and I went
Yes.
to the extreme, right? But I just had a thought a minute ago. When you're talking, I'm thinking, um, I still think if my friend was homosexual and says, I don't even want these desires, I still don't think I could say I love my friend if I joined them and say, yeah, I don't want that for you either. I hate your homosexuality, but I love you. Because I would think if I really wanted what was best for my homosexual friend, it wouldn't be me joining them and condemning their homosexuality. It would be me saying, no, I want what's best for you. And what's best for you would be for you to be able to express your sexual identity if your sexual identity is not harming anyone and it's not harming you. So even joining the person who doesn't like their orientation, if there's no harm coming from it, I don't think that that's loving. I think that's what my position would be.
I'm sorry. I got cut off for part of that, and so I actually didn't catch the heart of
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah.
Response.
Real quick, all I'm saying is,
I'm sorry.
I think joining somebody in their distaste for their orientation is not loving them if in actuality their orientation is not harming them and not harming anybody else. I think it's more loving to help them be okay with expressing and embracing their orientation.
Right. So basically, then you have to have an agreement on is there harm or not. I guess
Right.
that's where it falls back
Right.
on, right?
And once again, not to make a false equivalency here, but for the extreme example we gave of somebody like Joe Button with his dog, it's not even a matter of, oh, it looks like the animal's okay with it. The same reason why we don't let people, because it's one thing you can say, what about people that are attracted to children? Oh, well, children can't give consent. They're not old enough. They don't know enough. Or what about somebody who is mentally disabled, but they're 35? That person also can't give consent. And so even the animal who might seem like they're into it, I think we could say, like, no, that animal doesn't know enough to know that this is not good. There are people who faint in front of their pets. I don't know if you've seen these viral videos. They faint in front of their pets to see what their pets do. And you can imagine what some of them do. They fake faint in front of their dog, and their dog starts humping them. It's like, wait, that don't just because the dog was into it does not make it right. The dog doesn't know enough to know that this is not okay. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Those are the thoughts I have, but I appreciate the pushback. I don't have much more I could say than that.
Yeah. I guess what I would say is, would it be fair to say that the flaw in someone saying they love or they hate homosexuality and love homosexuals, instead of it being a flaw in consistency, isn't it a flaw in their knowledge of what's harmful or not?
That's why I was trying to push the point with Robert about where's the harm, and all he can come up with is God's going to put them in hell, so it must be harmful. Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking my call. I know you're about to sign off, but
thank you, man.
Yeah,
thanks for tapping in. Appreciate you.
All right.
Yep, get with you. All right. I told y'all I didn't especially prepare for this episode, so I'm just thinking on my feet here. But we did have another super chat come in. Black Swan Fly. Y'all say what's up to Black Swan Fly. Y'all may have already said what's up. Shout out to a real one. Keep having these conversations. Yo, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And hopefully we will be on this platform together again soon. But all right, we're coming up on 2.5. I'm just going to be 100% honest with y'all. The reason why I ended the stream yesterday before it was 3 hours was because it's freezing in this room that I'm in, and my remote control for my air conditioner is not working. I changed the batteries right before I got on today thinking it would work, and it's still not working. And I'm like freezing in this piece. So if somebody doesn't call soon, I'm going to end this this live and just go do me. Yes. But as always, like I said, you guys can send me topics. My unique Monique sent me this topic just about an hour or two before I jumped on, and I was like, "Yo, that's perfect." But yeah, definitely send some topics that you think might get you might get people calling and talking and wanting to discuss here. Shout out to Patreon supporters. Also, there's a new shirt up in the store. Been there for about 2 weeks so far. I think this will be the last week it's in the store. So if you want to go cop that new shirt, Ichabod shirt, it's really just I think coming next week. So the link for the store is in the description of the video. I'm gonna hop off here. You guys go ahead and enjoy yours, and I will catch y'all Thursday for exit strategy. All right. Love you guys. I want the best for you all. And I'm just trying to help us get some kind of idea as to what that might be. All right. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.